Dr. Turney, I want to ask you some questions about how you intend to enforce, let's say, the water rule, how aggressively you're going to be on that.
There must be an acoustical issue here in a bubble. Would you just say your question again?
All right. On the water rules, the EPA has been very aggressive in enforcement, and it's gone from a regulatory agency to almost operating like a police state. I'll just be blunt about it. There's been cases where the EPA, your armed division, has shown up with body armor and weapons drawn. Can you give me some idea of what the threat assessment might be that would justify that kind of intervention?
I don't know about the particular thing that you're describing, but when I was in state government, we had environmental enforcement activities where we did have to go in and take control of people who were flagrantly violating the state and federal laws. So I know it does happen. I don't know about the particular case that you're describing.
Do any of you, any of the other witnesses, are you aware of any cases where the EPA has come in with armed agents? We've had at least 2 of those in Alabama and 1 in Alaska, and I just find it interesting that the EPA is implementing these rules and acting and conducting themselves in a way that's really more reflective of a police state than a regulatory agency.
Sir, that my experience in that in the past is that other people are at risk of being exposed to hazardous pollutants and a variety of other things.
I don't think that would justify an armed agent. I mean, if you think someone has violated a rule, I think the first thing you do is you send down a regulator and interview witnesses, and I know specifically of a case where that didn't happen, and they showed up in a relatively small town at their waste treatment facility. And I've not been to their waste treatment facility, but I'm fairly certain there are no snipers' towers or machine gun nests or anything there that would justify that kind of intervention. But let's go over to the Clean Power Plan that the EPA is trying to impose. It's going to be enormously costly. Have you given any thought to the fact that I think the Department of Energy and EPA would like to see us go to the vast majority of our power coming from renewables, that our power grid will not support that?
Sir, there is no evidence that the Clean Power Plan will be 100% renewables. The Department of Energy has not stood for that position, nor has the Clean Power Plan at the EPA. EPA estimates that at the end of the day, based on their analyses, there would be 30% of the nation's power produced by coal. That's part of the outlook there. And the integration of renewable energy is something that today, in the absence of the Clean Power Plan, the industry is already addressing and coping with, and has plans for how they will continue to cope with integration of renewable energy.
From my perspective, it is the intention of the EPA and I think this administration to eliminate fossil fuel, to shut down the coal industry. I mean, they've been fairly transparent about it. Their plans are to have you at 80%, have us at 80% renewables in the next 2 or 3 decades. And our electric grid is not designed for that. There's a study out of Caltech that indicates it'll cost $1 trillion to upgrade our grid so that it can do that.
One of the wonderful things about natural gas as a fuel is it is very nimble to operate natural gas-fired power plants. They integrate wonderfully with renewable energy projects. So a domestic fuel like natural gas, which is so plentiful as a result of the shale gas revolution and providing low-cost energy to the United States, is helping us with our grid reliability.
But do you realize that when you're talking about supplementing your renewables with natural gas, you're admitting that renewables are not a legitimate or reliable source of energy?
That is absolutely not what I'm saying.
Well,
both of them provide power to the grid, period.
What we're having right now is with wind turbines having to dump power because we don't have an economical way of storing power. And if we go to renewables and back it up with natural gas, you're still going to have a major redesign issue for the infrastructure.
One of the wonderful things that's going on with innovation in the United States is tremendous research right now on storage. There are breakthroughs going on in small-scale, large-scale storage, and that is happening in a variety of different places around the country.
There's a huge disagreement over whether or not that will ever be, in a timely manner, being economically a sound alternative. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The gentleman